Hello, I'm Sean Ellis. I'm the founder and CEO of Growth Hackers, and I'm going to give you a quick introduction to NorthStar. So, NorthStar is really all about helping your team drive better testing results. And we do this in three key ways. First, we help you build a big backlog of ideas. If you have enough ideas, then it becomes really important to figure out how to prioritize those ideas for the highest impact. So that's the second thing, is prioritize and execute high impact tests. And then the third is we provide automatic reporting to help drive alignment. So one of the biggest barriers to effective testing is organizational barriers. So the better you have reporting, the more you can get people on the same page about what you need to do to drive growth in the business. So let's start by looking at how we help you engage the team to build a deep idea backlog. So it all starts with the ideas themselves. So what we want to do here is democratize as much as possible the overall collection of ideas. So this is where you want to be able to tap into people who are in support. They're generally going to be pretty empathetic to customer needs. People in engineering might be really good on problem solving. But in democratizing this, you want to make sure that you are collecting it in a structured way. So it's not creating more work for you, like you're getting everything on sticky notes, but instead, everything in NorthStar is created as an experiment document. So that's going to include a score, a hypothesis, all the things that you need for being able to prioritize the ideas later. Now, what we do is we make it so that they can generate ideas around anything, but in particular, we make it easy to broadcast out your key objectives so that you can request new ideas against those objectives. So ideally, if your analyst has identified a good opportunity, you want to be able to collect as many ideas around that opportunity as possible. So not only can you share the objective itself, but actually you can share the results. The second area that we help to drive more ideas is just by connecting into Slack and be able to make it easy to email out wins when you have wins, and even just new ideas when they're created. The more that the team is seeing ideas created, the more it's going to remind them to create their own ideas for experiments to run. So one of the barriers that prevents people from creating ideas is, particularly new people who might come in with a lot of fresh thinking, is when they get told, we've already tested that. And so every time they hear that, they're more likely to shut down and not present additional ideas in the future. So NorthStar empowers them to be able to search through the entire system with simple keyword search and find in any state, whether it's in the idea backlog, active tests, or in the knowledge base, they're going to be able to find if that idea has already been tested. They can also drill down and see all of the related ideas. And so that way, when they're actually generating an idea, they know that they're not going to get that pushback that it's already been tested. So once you have a lot of ideas, then it becomes important to prioritize which ideas you're going to execute as high impact tests. So one of the first things, we've already touched on this, but objectives are a big part of being able to figure out which ideas to run. Ideally, they're going to map to the high impact opportunities that your analyst has identified. So if you've got a big drop off in your funnel, or there's an untapped channel, whatever you might have as a big growth opportunity, being able to set a baseline metric and a target metric and track that over time, and then take every idea that could potentially help you make progress on that objective and attach those ideas to that objective, you now have a container that tells you these are the ideas that map to really a high impact opportunity. So once you've got all of your ideas in the backlog, one of the important things to do then is filter down which ideas each person on the core growth team thinks that should be tested. So while we talked about democratizing the ideation process, once you actually have a big backlog of ideas, you want the experts to be the ones who decide which ideas get tested. So this is where you'll be able to really drill down. And so it might be a particular point in the funnel that you want to run, aggregate those ideas, or it might be a particular objective that's important, or by tag. But once you've narrowed down that list, then you can see these are the ideas that meet that criteria. And again, this is just each person on that core growth team, each person who's an expert in growth is going to get their own list where they can look at that backlog and they can bring a short list of ideas to your weekly meeting. So they might do sorting by an ICE score. So what are the easiest ideas? whatever it is that they think are a good way to shortlist those ideas, they'll be able to nominate those and bring those to the growth meeting. You can open it up and there's a big nomination button, or we do have shortcuts in there that you learn over time. But with a simple star, you're able to nominate it. And then those nominations actually appear in a specialized meeting mode dashboard that ultimately the growth meeting is a big part of how you set the cadence for your team, how you process the learning, and ultimately decide which tests you're going to run. And so we aggregate all of that relevant information around your NorthStar metric, progress against your key objectives, any of the recent learning. So each sprint that's going to update with anything that's been added to the knowledge base. And then you're also going to want to look at any of the tests that you plan to run in the previous sprint that didn't get out and figure out what prevented them. So more of a resource planning exercise there. Once you've looked at all that information, then you can have key members on the growth team actually pitch 2 or 3 or however many ideas you want them to actually pitch in that meeting. And from there, you'll be able to narrow down those key ideas. So here's a bigger view of this. But one thing to recall is that anything that does not get sent into the up next column for testing actually gets sent back to the idea backlog and has to basically be repeated through this whole process. So you're not making a 6-week testing schedule. Instead, each week you're starting over based on your latest set of learning and reprioritizing what it is that you want to test. So assuming that one of these ideas or multiple ideas you've decided to test, you would just drag them into the up next column. And what that will do is actually trigger a dialog box where as a group you can review the hypothesis, you can assign a key owner to the test, and ideally that owner then helps to manage that test and bring it live. So it's a project manager, but ideally that's somebody who has just pitched the idea and they're then a champion of the idea. So once they're ready to send the test live, then you're managed to get it live. That's when they can assign subtasks to other team members or even to themselves. And then we integrate with a suite of different testing tools and development tools. So if you need to bring in your dev team, maybe they want to do the development in Asana or Jira, all of that information is going to sync so they can develop in the environment that they choose, but you have everything centralized in NorthStar so you know exactly what's being tested and can really use this as your learning system. So basically, once you're ready to launch a test and maybe it's just a pure A/B test and then you could do it with Google Optimize or Optimizely. But once you're ready to launch the test, you would drag it into in progress. That means your test is live. Once it's completed, you drag it into ready to analyze. All of those movements are what inform the reports that helps the whole team stay in sync around this testing program. And so that's what we're going to end with is some of the automated reporting that is generated as you're executing these tests. So it starts with process health. So being able to say, how many new ideas each week are we generating? Is it declining? That's not good. In fact, this week we tested more than we actually created. That's a bad sign. You don't want to. That means you're essentially prioritizing, everything. If you're generating as many tests as you are ideas, so you want to have a really big backlog of ideas that will ideally help you prioritize the highest potential impact ideas, and then track how much learning you're getting. So once ideas are completed and moved into the knowledge base, that's going to update new learning added that week. You'll also get a distribution of tests across the customer journey. And so make sure that you're not putting all your eggs in one part of the customer journey basket, but over time, you've got a good distribution of tests. And then you also want to track how much weekly participation you have. And, again, I think the important thing here is this is all about driving results. And so being able to map all of the activities. So each of these dots are the ideas and tests that you're running each week. If you hover over them, you'll see a little summary card of the idea. And then if you click into it, you'll get the full experiment doc. But all of that tells you where the team is really spending their time. And if you see enough activity clustered around a key objective, then you're likely to see growth in that objective metric. So that's a quick introduction to NorthStar. It's used by teams at Spotify, Mozilla, Ease. A number of companies are using it to drive breakout growth. And a big part of it is helping you figure out the right tests to run each week to really hit your objectives. So we recommend you get started building your idea backlog, and good luck with growing your business.